Hey everybody, it's Dennis Beeson and it's Simplify and Refocus. It's Sunday on the 30th of October. Taking a couple of weeks off, past couple weeks, and thought today was a good time to come back. Got some soft 70s stuff playing in the background, which is always good stuff, but also helps fill in the background a little bit. So I hope you've been doing well. I've been doing a lot of thinking, been doing a lot of, trying to figure some things out. I'll turn that down even more. One of the topics that I was thinking about talking about tonight was living up to expectations. And sorting through everybody's expectations of what you should be, dealing with the feelings of making parents proud and your spouse proud or your partner, making your kids feel proud of you as their parent, and the vicious cycle that goes on along the whole time. So I'll speak from my perspective because, again, I'm not licensed. I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm not a licensed psychologist. I've certainly explored a lot of that stuff. I've read a lot of self-help books and I've watched a lot of self-help videos along the way. And the reason I do Simplify and Refocus is, as most of you know, is it's a way to check myself. So when I'm talking about these things out loud, I'm really kind of checking myself. And if anything that I speak about helps you, then it's a bonus. I feel good about it. But I am the baby of 8 kids. And I think about the expectations that were put on us as we grew up. And those expectations where we were going to get good grades in school. We were going to be good citizens. And when I say that, I mean we were going to follow the law. We were going to represent the family in a unblemished fashion, if possible. And my older siblings, I think, probably have some stories to tell that I don't necessarily know about, where they maybe stretched out a little bit from the mold of goodness. And I think we came from a family on certainly my father's side that was a raucous, crazy group of people. A lot of alcohol, a lot of unsavory language out of some people, my uncles and things. I think about back in those days, it seemed like everybody smoked and go to a family wedding and it was smoking, drinking, and swearing. My family, first cousins on one side has about 60 plus first cousins. My other side has about 40 plus first cousins. And so, big family weddings, big things. My mother's side of the family had probably a little bit quieter ability to drink and smoke and all that good stuff. And somehow, in the grand scheme of things, I ended up maneuvering through some of that. But my parents put a really strong emphasis on doing the right thing. And again, being good citizens. I remember when I was in about 3rd grade, and I think we were still dealing with the number system where you got a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or 4 or 5 in citizenship and punctuality and attendance and all that type of stuff. And I brought home a 3 in citizenship, which meant that it wasn't very good. It meant that the comments were that I talked too much and I was distracting the class and whatnot. And I remember that was like the most serious crime I could commit. Might even been a little bit later than third grade, but it was one of those things that my folks were so upset about because I was representing them as a family, and why wasn't I carrying the banner? And as my academic career went along, I was already the person who was struggling with academics compared to a good number of my brothers and sisters. And by the time high school came along, I pretty much knew that my path was going to be that of a fun-loving guy that was do anything he could to not do homework. And if I could turn back the time, that would be one area that, knowing what I know now, I would just show up in the sense of doing the things I needed to do. Because really, truly, high school wasn't all that hard if you just did your work and you turned things in and showed up. So I think I've always battled, well, for a long time, I think I battled what were the expectations of my family and how would I live up to them. And feelings of disappointment because I didn't do the things I was supposed to do academically. And interestingly enough, when I was getting to my senior year of high school, I started getting calls from recruiters. And at that particular time in life, I found that was something that I might be interested in. And my mother was vehemently against it. Can't quite figure out why. But there's a good possibility that could have changed the course of my life in a lot of ways. Could have gotten me so many different things. And I'm a big proponent of people going to the military, even for a short time, and understanding some of that aspect, gaining experience and discipline and the possibilities of schooling, but that's a whole nother topic. Paid for by the military. But again, I found myself at an early age drinking. I started drinking pretty steady and regularly at about 15 years old. And I drank very much in my high school days and definitely in college. And I think there were a lot of times when I was drinking that it was my way of, I mean, everybody probably says this, but it was a bit of my way of escaping some of my own disappointment in the expectations that I wasn't living up to. It's like I always had an excuse when I was drinking. And if you know me and you followed me a little bit on Facebook, you know that I quit drinking 18 years ago, a little over 18 years ago. And one of the big things that also came about with me stopping drinking was sort of grabbing the reins of my life and literally taking control and saying, this is one aspect of my life I'm not going to use as a crutch anymore. I'm not going to allow it to dictate doing stupid things. And so always had the expectations of my parents and always felt like I was the black sheep of the family. Always felt like I was a disappointment in a lot of ways. And I think as parents, we sometimes fall into the same habits that we were raised with. And so as a parent, I think I was a bit disappointed in how I was as a parent. I think that it took a long time, and I've reached a point with my daughters that I'm actually at a really fantastic place with. They've grown into some great ladies who are now raising kids of their own, or one is and one is on the way. And so I did something right. And I think it's interesting because I ruled my world with the kids as a very disciplined guy. I think I set the disciplinary rules that in some ways I wish I would have had. Even though I did have discipline, I didn't. My brothers and sisters will tell you that I was spoiled and I did whatever I wanted to. And to some degree, that's true. But the level of Catholic guilt that was put on me controlled me much farther than just stay in on a Friday night and you're grounded type stuff. And so again, as a parent myself, I've been disappointed with my own expectations. I wish I could turn back because I see some of the people that I know really well and how much time they invest in their kids and how much of a relationship they have at a younger age, and how I feel like they're better parents than I was. And I think that, in my opinion, a lot of people go through this terrible cycle where we doubt ourselves constantly and we're always thinking we should be better, we should make more money, we should do all of these things. In my view of this, and it's taken me such a long time, and oh, by the way, I struggle with it so much, is that we all have to be who we are, and we have to be the best people we possibly can. And that does not mean we're perfect, because nobody's perfect. All we can do is strive to be good. And it's something I've talked about on this show multiple times. And this whole concept of simplify and refocus is treat others the way you want to be treated. Treat people with respect. Golden rule. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. 10 Commandments are a good map of life. Certainly all those things are good things to abide by. But in the same vein, take care of yourself. Focus on how you can be the best person you can be. And those are the only expectations that you really need to live by. If you're doing things and you know you're doing things that don't feel good to you, that you're doing things that are destructive and harmful, then stop doing them. Those are the only expectations that I think you can live by. Now, there are some people that have no boundaries. And for them, cheating, and whether that's cheating in business, cheating in life, cheating on spouses, those people will just always look for shortcuts. And so in this particular case, what I do is I try to stay as close to the rules as I can. And sometimes people I have around here, like the new business, and I'm into the rules right now because this is what the people told me, and this is what the health department told me, and this is what the business, the licensing bureau told me, and all of the things, the government structures, and it makes me want to pull my hair out because I'm so tired of rules and regulations and strangulation and people that are not living a small business person's life, or not living just a middle-class person's life and trying to deal with paying for things and not having enough money and wondering if I can get my car fixed or if I got to pay rent. And there's so many struggles with that. And again, that creates a level of expectation in yourself that you start feeling defeated. I go to work every day. I try to do the right things. I do all this. And then I look on television and I see somebody that's breaking the rules, that's doing something illegal, but boy, look how much money they're making and how much farther along they are. And that's crazy thinking. Because if you can just ground yourself in the basic human decency, those are the only expectations that matter. Do the things that make you happy. If sitting on the couch watching 10 hours worth of Netflix on a weekend when you don't have anything else to do makes you happy, then do that. But balance it with something else so that your expectations of yourself are fulfilled. Cleaning your house, doing the dishes, doing your laundry, making yourself look good, eating as healthy as you possibly can. But you know what? A bowl of ice cream every once in a while is a beautiful thing. And there's a scene, and I probably have talked about this before, but it's an amazing scene. It's a show called City of Angels, and it was a Nick Cage and Meg Ryan movie back in early 2000s, if not late 90s. And it's probably late 90s. But there's this part where this angel that has fallen to earth, and he's been there a little while, and he's a bit overweight, and he's actually smoking, and they're at a restaurant, and he orders about 10 different items. And he fell to earth essentially for a woman. But what he realizes, all these little things in life are just so, there's amazing. This strawberry shortcake and this food here and the tastes and all of the experience that he's doing. And I think those are the things that when you start putting expectations on your life, I think those are the things. Because oftentimes we forget to live while we're alive. And I struggle with it. I struggle with that mightily. I've talked to a couple of different people recently who've been on trips, and they've been on vacations, and they've gone places. And I always have the excuse that I don't have enough money. And I don't. But at least that could be something perhaps I should be saving for. And when I was talking to my daughters today, we talked about where would you want to go. And we all talked about going to maybe where original family heritage is, and going to Ireland and Scotland and England as a trip. And so thought about it, that could be a trip that we do together. And why don't I make that happen? Why don't I focus my thoughts on how to make that happen? Those are the expectations that I think for myself I have to really focus on. And so if you're still beating yourself up over the fact that you didn't get the highest grade point you could have gotten in high school, and it disappointed your mom or dad, it's time to let it go. If you didn't complete an assignment and you fell behind, let it go. If you didn't achieve partner at your law firm or accounting firm as fast as you wanted to, let it go. The only expectations that you really need to put on yourself is how you treat other people, and how each day you can start over and try to do the best you can. Because I know in the past even month, I can look at day to day, and I could put an expectation on how did I want to treat people that day. And some of those days I overachieved, and some of the days I fell very short. And I went home disappointed in myself because maybe I was in a bad mood and I let it show, and maybe I was frustrated and I vented, and I needed to just keep it to myself. So those of you out there that are struggling with feeling like you're not living up to other people's expectations, stop trying to live up to other people's expectations and just live up to your expectations and what you think is going to be the best expectations for the best outcome. If you like the show, please share it. If you know somebody that maybe needs to hear this message, send it to them. I'd love to get a private message if you need some advice or some talk, just somebody to talk to. Send it to me. I appreciate you, and thanks for tuning in to Simplify and Refocus. Have a great week.